start the service on page 69. Yes, we'll get there eventually. Anyway, page 69, would you please rise? And we start our service tonight by inviting Michael Crick to come up and light the Shabbat candles. Let's join Michael in saying the blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner Shabbat. Well, Michael, now that you have lit the candles, if I have it right, you should blow them out. Because you're here to celebrate a special birthday. But that's not our tradition. I don't know how many people know Michael, but you're actually one of our most loyal members of the synagogue. You've been a member for decades, I think, even if we rarely see you in synagogue. And that's, I mean, let's be honest, that's loyalty to the congregation that is quite amazing. I suspect that it was perhaps due to your mother's upbringing. And we all remember Marjorie Crick from those old Kadima days and here. But Michael, over the years, you've led a life of service to our country, many years in the police force, and I know in many other ways, and you've just told me you're now chairman of the Finchley Society. And I suspect along the way you were volunteered and you volunteered to so many things. And all along you've kept your identity as a Jew. And Michael just told me that in fact he now finds out that distant relative of Rabbi Danny Rich, who he has to deal with as a counselor in Finchley. So things move around, and it reminds us that as a Jewish people we have connections that we sometimes don't know, and they're good to keep up and to redevelop over the years. And so, on this occasion, we ask that God blesses you on your birthday, that you have many, many more years of good health and ever seeking new adventures and engagements and keeping your mind and your life so busy that you have many years of contentment and satisfaction. And so those ancient words that are said on so many occasions, but we hope are just as meaningful as ever. The priestly benediction, Yivarecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka, Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha, Shalom. We pray that God will bless you and guard you, that God will turn towards you with kindness, God will turn towards you with compassion and thought to make sure that the days of your life are good days. Will give you a sense of shalom, of peace, of complete life. Mazel tov. Thank you. And so I'll ask you to please sit down. And now turn to page 242. I suddenly realized, I looked that we don't do the themes in our prayer book. We haven't done for a long time now. And some of them are, well, past their sell-by date, but there's some I think that still have some validity. And I thought that We'd start the service with this one on Shabbat because it's the one that goes with this week's Torah portion, which comes with a reminder that we should observe Shabbat. 6 days shall work be done, but on the 7th day you shall have a holy Sabbath of complete rest, dedicated to God, so that your ox and your ass may rest, and that your servants and strangers may be refreshed. Remember that you were slaves in the land of Egypt, and that the Eternal One your God brought you out of there with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm. God blessed the 7th day and hallowed it, resting from all the work of creation which God had done. There are objects in life higher than success. The Sabbath, with its exhortation to the worship of God and the doing of kindly deeds, reminds us week by week of these higher objects. It prevents us reducing our life to the level of a machine. The Sabbath is one of the glories of our humanity. For if to labor is noble, to pause in that labor of our own free will may be nobler still. If the day is to have any dignity and significance, it must confront one of our greatest curses, which is our internal and external unrest. This unrest arises from two principal sources. First, that we lead a life without goals, and second, that we are involved in competition without end. Shabbat is potentially an enormous relief from and a protest against these basic causes of unrest. Once a week, it provides us with an opportunity to think about who we are, to deal not with things but with persons, with creation and our part in it, with society and its needs, with ourselves as individuals, and yet as social beings. We must once again understand that doing nothing, being silent and open to the world, letting things happen inside, can be as important as, and sometimes more important than, what we commonly call useful. Shabbat we rest. Shabbat is a time to stop the mad rush of our daily existence. On its most basic level, Shabbat is a time for physical recuperation from the week of work. But Shabbat is also a time for evaluating our relationship with the world around. A time for spiritual renewal and perspective. On Shabbat, we have an opportunity to stop running, to breathe deeply, to look inside ourselves, and to think about ourselves as people and as Jews before once again dashing back into the world of work. ומקמך ישראל, גוי אחד בארץ, תפארת גדולה, בעטרת ישועה, יום מנוחה וקדושה, לעמך נתת, מנוחת אהבה ונדבה, מנוחת אמת ואמונה, מנוחת שלום ושלווה, גט ובטח, מנוחה שלמה, שאתה רוצה בה, יכירו בניך ידעו, כי מתה היא מנוחתה. ועל מנוחתם יקדישו את שמך. More than Israel has kept the Sabbath has kept Israel. All who keep the Sabbath and do not profane it, and hold fast to my covenant, I will bring to my holy mountain. If we keep the Sabbath, God will keep us. It is the sign between God and for us forever. It's not easy to keep the Sabbath. The The society in which we live does not create it for us. We have to create it for ourselves. And that requires remembrance, effort, and self-discipline. We are not the first generations of Jews to face that difficulty. Let us not be the first to be defeated by it. Not for us the Sabbath of the quiet streets, Sabbath peace for all the world outspread. Not the robe of silence for our holy day, toil and stir and laughter of the way surge around our steps. Yet silently we, while through the thronging street and mart workday clamour of the city rolls, cloistered inly from the world apart, ours it is to bear the Sabbath in our soul. The moment of silent meditation. Shabbat Shalom, Ma'yafeh Hayom. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. And so we turn to page 92, page 92. When you found it, please rise. Baruch hu et Adonai hamavorach. Baruch Adonai hamavorach. Leolam poed. Praise the one to whom our praise is due. Please sit down. And let's read together. We praise you, eternal one, our God, sovereign of the universe, whose word brings on the evening, whose wisdom opens heaven's gates, whose understanding changes times and seasons, and whose will sets the stars in their courses in the sky. You make day and night, rolling light away from darkness, and darkness from light. You make day pass and bring on the night, and separate day from night. You rule the hosts of heaven. We praise you, O God, whose word makes evening fall. Shabbat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amecha ahavta, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Ukim u'mishpatim, Otanu lemadata, Otanu lemadata. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shachbeinu v'kumeinu naseach b'hukecha v'nismach b'divrei toratecha v'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed Yihem chayenu yorech yameinu uchem negei yomam v'layla Yomam v'layla, b'ahavatcha al tasu, b'meinu le'olamim, ve'orcha ohev amo Yisrael, ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. All this we hold to be true and sure. You alone, Eternal One, are our God, and we are Israel, your people. You freed us from oppressors and delivered us from tyrants. You led us out of Egypt forever to serve you in freedom. When we witnessed your power, we praised your name and gave thanks. Willingly we accepted your rule. Then, full of joy, we sang together. And it has been said, the Eternal One has delivered Jacob and redeemed us from the hand of one stronger than ourselves. We praise you, O God, Redeemer of Israel. And let's read together. Grant, eternal God, that we may lie down in peace, and let us rise up to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your wise counsel, and for your name's sake be our help. Shield us from sickness and war, from famine and distress, and keep us from wrongdoing. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, for you are our guardian and deliverer, a gracious and merciful God. Guard our going out and our coming in, that now and always we may have life and peace. We praise you, O God. May your sheltering peace descend on us and all who dwell on earth. Please rise. Adonai, Safatai Tiftach, Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu ve'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Agadol Agibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim ve'Konei HaKol, V'zocher Chastei Avot ve'Imachot, U'mevii Gola livnei v'neihem, Leman Shemo b'Yahava, Melech Uzer u'Moshe u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ezrat Sarah, Ta'gibor le'olam Adonai, B'chaim meitim atarav lahoshia, Mashiv haruach u'morid hageshem, אז ריח השמש ומוריד הטל. בכל פעמים בחסד בחיי מתים רחמים רבים. איך נופלים ורופאי חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמרתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך ממית ומחייב הצמיח ישוע. ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני בחיי עמים. קדוש אתה ונורא שמך, ואין לנו אלוה מבלעדיך. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. Please sit down. And we read together, we thank you, O God, for this Sabbath day, which calls us to a closer communion with you. Though you are near to us at all times, you reveal your presence most clearly when we direct our thoughts towards you in worship and meditation. In you, O God, our humanity is exalted. You are our life. From you come its greatness, its power, its beauty. Establish in us, we humbly pray, a devotion to you that shall be firm in all the circumstances of life. May this service renew in our hearts the sense of your presence and bring us peace. Ruvenei Israel et ha-Shabbat, lazot et ha-Shabbat, לדורותם ברית עולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפל. Gather, our God and God of our ancestors. May our rest on this day be pleasing in your sight. Sanctify us by your commandments and make us loyal to your teaching. Satisfy us with your goodness, gladden us with your salvation, and purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, eternal one, let the holiness of your Sabbath enter our hearts, and may all Israel, who hallow your name, be exalted by its peace. We praise you, O God, for the holiness. Eternal God, be gracious to your people Israel, and in your love accept their prayer. May our worship now and always be acceptable in your sight. We praise you, O God, who alone we worship in reverence. Modim anachnu lach, שאתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו לעולם ועד. צור חיינו, מגן ישנו, אתה הוא לדור ודור. נודה לך ונספר תהילתך, על חיינו המסורים בידיך, ועל נשמותינו הפקודות לך, ועל ניסיך שבכל יום עמנו, ועל נפלותיך וטובותיך, שבכל עת ערב ובוקר וצהריים. ברוך אתה אדוני, הטוב שמך, ולך נאה החודות. רחם על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. אלוה הוא מלך אדון, ולכל השלום. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון, לכל השלום. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Sim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tov Benecha Geralei Et Tzadka Yisrael Bechol Ein u'bechol shah Lishmo Lecha. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Baruch atah Adonai, Osei HaShalom. We praise you, O God, the source of peace. Shalom bimrolam, uyasei shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol bnei Adam. My sermon starts with the phrase "old timers will know," and thankfully there's quite a few old timers here tonight, and if you're not an old timer, but a young old timer, then you're very welcome. But old timers will know that early on during my years at the Leobeck College, I discovered the prophet Jeremiah. And looking back on it, I think Jeremiah discovered me. Because after a couple of years there of studying the Bible through my German Bible teacher, who was rather traditional, studying it through the eyes of Rashi and the traditional commentators, it didn't appeal to me. Having just scraped through a science degree, it didn't make any sense. And then along came Jeremiah. He's the one prophet in the Bible that you can get to know personally. Because if you read through the book, we can read and discover his background, his life story, his thoughts, his doubts, his struggles with the authorities, and his struggles with God. Through his book, you can follow the history of the times, and it matches and it's got so much history in it that was true history. It actually happened. And you can also find out how the Bible came to be written, because we find Jeremiah writing scrolls and letters, and great chunks of his book have come down to us today, much as they originated. Jeremiah was a great orator, using audio-visual aids to get over his message. If you read the book, there are boiling pots, there are jars to be broken, there are bunches of figs. They're schlepping round in a cow's yoke to warn the people that if they didn't heed his words, they would end up being slaves to the Babylonians, which they did. Jeremiah was the only prophet who proclaimed disaster, that it would happen, and lived to see it happen, and to describe it actually happening, his words coming true. I bring you this story tonight because I'm in the middle of preparing a long lecture on Jeremiah to give to the joint Jewish-Catholic study series in Bratislava in a few weeks' time. It's an interesting and it's a vital endeavor to create understanding between the two communities in a country where the Catholic Church is strong and traditional, and in the past has been very anti-Semitic, and where the Jewish community is tiny and weak, yet as before its destruction in the Shoah, has much to give Slovak life. But I also bring Jeremiah to you tonight because I feel we live in times and in a country very similar to the situation Jeremiah faced in the last days of the kingdom of Judah. Look up Jeremiah in the Oxford English Dictionary and you find, quote, a person who complains continually and foretells disaster. That's all it says. It's a fair description of part of the character of my friend, the prophet, but only part, as I will hopefully show. Jeremiah was living in a country after the major disaster that had hit the Israelite people, the northern kingdom, which had just been destroyed, well, a century before, had been destroyed by and conquered by the Assyrians. And if you remember, 10 of the 12 tribes of Israel were taken into exile to become the lost 10 tribes, to become lost completely to Jewish history. So there was only 2 tribes left clustered around Jerusalem, and the times were getting dangerous again. The 2 tribes were powerless in reality against the warring ambition of Egypt in the south and Babylon in the north. Jeremiah was a religious prophet, but also a political commentator. Within the country, he warned the king, the nobles, and the priests, but also the common people, that their society was in crisis, that there were great inequalities between the rich and the poor, and the personal, ethical, and religious standards were far from what the Torah demanded. Families were no longer following the ancestral religion. And Jeremiah was a brilliant orator and poet, and I could go on quoting all night, but a favorite sentence comes from a brilliant chapter 7, where he says, "Go down to the streets of Jerusalem. The children gather sticks. The fathers build the fire. Mothers knead the dough to make cakes for the Queen of Heaven. To mock me, says God," the Queen of Heaven being a pagan deity. Each generation was involved in blasphemous behavior. Said Jeremiah, it's destroying society from within. And without, the rulers are killing themselves. Judah thought it could act independently on the international stage, go it alone, stand up to the larger and greater powers. They even felt they could set out to fight against them. In fact, it cost the only good king that was around at that time his life in an actual battle against Egypt in Megiddo, an event that's recorded both in the Bible but also in Egyptian annals. All of this is very real. It really is history. But Jeremiah fought against the trends. Yes, he complained continually, and yes, he foretold disaster, but nobody wished to hear. He upbraided the people for their immoral personal lives and publicly attacked the king for making stupid political decisions. He urged him to seek peace treaties, to recognize the reality of the situation, that he couldn't go it alone. He couldn't maintain complete independence. He was better to seek alliances with the more powerful nations, even if it meant becoming subject to their power. Better to be subject to Babylonian rule than to be utterly destroyed by them. But the kings would not listen and were defeated, and the Davidic line was extinguished, and Jerusalem was destroyed by Nebuchadnezzar, and the survivors were taken into exile in Babylon. But I don't see the United Kingdom facing quite that disaster post March the 29th or whatever the day is decided it would be. But we sure live in confusing and anxious times. Traditional religion is weak. The Catholic Church is in crisis. Others not sure where lie the boundaries of sexual and interpersonal relationships. And current issues like gender definitions, transsexual demands, abortion, cannot be discussed calmly, but lead to violence, verbal or real. and politics are in a mess. Who to believe, who to trust, what to believe, and what's the right way forward? Why does nobody seem in control and give us confidence? Is it better to stand on our own, be completely independent, or seek a future connected to other nations, even if it means less independence in certain areas? Indeed, I think we face much of the questions and dilemmas faced by Jeremiah, though we might add to them the new dangers brought about by social media and climate change. It's hard not to be pessimistic about our future. There seem to be no prophets anymore, and nobody can predict what will happen. Jeremiah got it right, but then went on to teach us how to behave. For though he is labeled the prophet of doom, he was also the prophet of hope. When the first exile happened, he was in prison because of his prophecy of coming disaster. But instead of gloating, I got it right, he sat down and dictated to his secretary Baruch a letter to the exile. You can read the letter in Jeremiah chapter 29. I will quote part of it verbatim. These are Jeremiah's words. Thus said the God of Israel to the whole community which I exiled from Jerusalem to Babylon. Build houses and dwell in them. Plant gardens and eat their fruit. Take wives and beget sons and daughters, and take wives for your sons and give your daughters to husbands that they may bear children. Multiply there and do not decrease. And seek the welfare of the city to which I have exiled you, and pray to God on its behalf. For in its prosperity you shall prosper. And when you pray to me wholeheartedly, I will hear you. And thus says the Eternal One, when Babylon's 70 years are over, I will take note of you, and I will bring you back from all the places I've exiled you, and bring you back to this place. And the letter was dispatched, and the book tells us who was sent to deliver it to the exiles in Babylon. And the letter worked, and works to this day. The exiles did not give up their identity, as did the 10 lost tribes. They survived and flourished in exile, and did actually, in 70 years, have the possibility of returning. They learned that God was not tied to Jerusalem, but could be worshipped wherever you happened to be living, so long as you prayed sincerely. Thus it is said the synagogue was founded. You could say that the Zionist dream had its roots in this letter. They learned also that they should become good citizens of the countries where they found themselves, if it would let them. And thus was founded the loyal prayer that we say every Shabbat morning on Jeremiah's words. And the people survived, and Judaism was founded and survived. Have hope, said Jeremiah. Though the present and future looks confusing and full of anxiety, have hope that in the end it will turn out well. Live your lives, don't give up. Do not listen to the prophets of doom. At this moment in our history, we could do with Jeremiah to give us comfort and hope. Let his words and story help us on our way. My lecture in Bratislava is on the 11th of April. If you want to come, you're very welcome. I don't know, maybe I should ask. Where? It is in Slovak, but let's turn to the concluding prayers to the Elena on page 520, page 520. Aleinu l'shabech l'Adon hakol, עתיד גדולה ליוצא בראשית, אשר שם חלקנו לייחד את שמו, וגור עלינו להמליך מלכותו. אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אינו, הוא אף זולתו, כך כתוב בתורתו. וידעת היום והשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחתינו. Trusting in you, eternal God, we hope soon to behold the glory of your might, when false gods will vanish from our hearts and idolatry cease forever. Help us to perfect the world by bringing it under your unchallenged rule. When all will invoke your name, relinquish evil and turn to you alone. May all who dwell on earth come to know that to you every knee must bend and every tongue swear loyalty. Before you let them humble themselves, and to your glorious name let them give honor. Let all submit to your sovereign rule. May that time come soon and last forever, for ultimate sovereignty is yours, and to all eternity you will reign in glory. As it is written, the Eternal One shall reign forever. And it has been said, the Eternal God shall rule over all the earth. On that day the Eternal God shall be one, and known to be one. As we worship before you, O God, we think of those who once shared with us the joys and burdens of life and who are no longer in our midst. The sorrow of bereavement is softened by the bond of love which continues to unite us with our dear ones, and by our cherished memories of them, which we will always carry in our hearts. May all who was good in their lives remain with us as an influence for good. O God, grant consolation to those who are in sorrow, and light to those in darkness. Teach us at all times to put our trust in you and to praise your name. And on this Shabbat, on the occasion of Yahrzeits, we make mention of the name of Alan Heyman, the father of Sue Frace, Bertram Jacobs, the founder and life president of this synagogue, Daphne Isaacs, the mother of Hugh and Arthur and grandmother of Belinda and Johnny, Jill Rickhazen, the mother of Ben, Gordon, the friend, father of Laura Kraft and Anthony Kraft, son of Malcolm and Diana and brother of Jeff and Fiona. Hilda Rita Charles, the mother of Jackie Parkinson, Jack Gross, the father of John Gross, Jeanne Freeman, the mother of Ruth Kent, Leila Mann, the mother of Peter Mann, Leon Ganelin, the father of Marion Francis, Philip Jacobs, the father of Olivia and grandpa of Lily and Freddie Fiber, Ralph Asserson, the father of Ros Austin, and Sybil Levenberg, the mother of Sandra Harris. And we regret to announce the recent death of Eleanor Stanton, the wife of Marilyn, mother of Suzanne. And in memory of all those we have mentioned, we praise God's name by saying the Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, bi'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, בחייכון ויומכון וחיי דכל בית ישראל. ועגלה בזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא. ידע ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה. תושבחתה ונחמתה. תאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלום הרבה מן שמיה. וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומה. הוא יעשה שלום. עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל בני אדם. Amen. May great peace descend from heaven, and abundant life be granted to us and all Israel. And let us say, Amen. Please sit down. And since I shortchanged you on the Sabbath hymns earlier in the service, perhaps we'll end with Yom Zel Israel on page 644. However, one or two, or more than one or two notices remind you that it's the last chance today or now to book for the Hebrew crash course, which is the 8th to the 10th of March, that's next weekend. And that starting on the 11th of March, there is an adult education series which perhaps harks back to the old timers because it's a series based on the founders of the liberal Judaism. Lily Montagu is the first one on Monday, the 11th of March, given by the first woman rabbi in this country, Rabbi Jackie Tabik, talking about Lily Montagu. And then we go through the Montefiores and the Mattocks, but also people who you might be interested in, Rabbi Frank Hellner talking about Rabbi Sidney Brichter. And so it's, I think there are 6 sessions which are advertised in Davar. There is one mistake, that the last one is on the wrong date. It's, well, eventually it's in April, you'll find out. I think it's in the 8th of April. But so it looks like interesting. You can come to one or any of them, look and see who the personalities are. I'm sure it'll be of great interest. And also of great interest, and in 2 weeks' time, the 15th to 16th of March, we have the induction of Cantor Tamara Wolfson, a service here on Friday night. On Saturday, she's at her other congregation being inducted there, so I suppose you could schlep out over there as well. But on the Saturday night, there's a wonderful cantorial concert with some of the best voices in the country, Rabbi Mark Solomon, Rabbi Cantor Zoe Jacobs, and including some of our own members singing along. So it really should be a wonderful evening. You have to book, I think. That's on the Saturday night, 7:30, I think, it doesn't say. Also in March, if anyone's ever been to Limud, the big Limud, up in Birmingham, wherever it is, however, there is a Harrow Limud, it's called Limud After Dark. That's on Saturday the 9th of March at Harrow College. Both Aaron and David Hirsch and Robin Moss, members of our congregation, are amongst those leading sessions. I think there's, well, plenty more, but that's enough already. Yom Zel Israel on page 644. Yisrael ora v'simcha, ora v'simcha, Shabbat menucha. Yom Zel Yisrael ora v'simcha, Shabbat, Shabbat menucha. Shabbat, Shabbat menucha. Tzivita pikudim b'ma'amad Sinai, Shabbat u'moadim lishmo b'chol shanai. La'aroch lefanai ma'aseh ve'arucha. Shabbat, Shabbat menucha. Shabbat, Shabbat menucha. Yom Zel Yisrael ora v'simcha, ora v'simcha, Shabbat menucha. Yom Zel Yisrael, Ora v'simcha, Shabbat, Shabbat Menucha, Shabbat, Shabbat Menucha. Chemdat halvavot leuma shavura, Fashot nechavot neshama yetera, Minefesh metzera yaser anacha, Shabbat, Shabbat Menucha, Shabbat, Shabbat Menucha. Yom Zel Yisrael, Ora v'simcha, Ora v'simcha, Shabbat Menucha. Yom Zel Yisrael, Ora v'simcha, Shabbat, Shabbat Menucha. Shabbat, Shabbat Menucha. Idashta berachta oto mikol yamim, Sheshet milita melechet olamim, Bo matzu agumim shkitu vitcha, Shabbat, Shabbat Menucha, Shabbat, Shabbat Menucha. Yom Zel Yisrael, Ora v'simcha, Ora v'simcha, Shabbat Menucha. Yom Zel Yisrael, Ora v'simcha, Shabbat, Shabbat Menucha, Shabbat, Shabbat Menucha. Please rise. Mi sheshikein et shemo b'bayit hazeh, v'yoshkin b'einenu ahava v'achava, v'shalom v're'ut. May the one whose presence dwells in this house cause love and harmony, peace and friendship to dwell among us. Shabbat Shalom.